So, should you use personal or business branding? Well, personal branding is where you have a figurehead who represents the company, and that tends to make a business much more engaging to Bob, as Bob likes to feel like there is a relationship happening. So we tend to engage with people we can relate to better than we do with a brand or a corporate brand that doesn't have a human face. But a lot of the time, there is no clear figurehead in the company to communicate a personal brand from. But if you have someone in your business that is the front or name of the business, then go with this option. If you don't have a public figurehead, then go with business branding. In both instances, you have to communicate that you are in line with Bob's values as a company, and you have to bring that into your marketing. But it's a little bit easier to do that if you're a figurehead than if you are a blank, faceless corporation or business. So let's consider these brands and decide whether they are using personal or business brands, or let's consider how you interact with them and think about them. So Virgin, most people have heard of the company Virgin, and when they think of that, they think Richard Branson. Now, when Richard Branson was building up Virgin, he would be doing these crazy stunts, he'd be sailing and flying air balloons, and he got quite a name for himself as the entrepreneur stroke adventurer. And they incorporated that into Virgin, and Virgin became synonymous with Richard Branson. So much so that when Richard Branson sells off part of Virgin, he still is kept as the marketing front for that business. There are a few Virgin businesses, as my understanding, that Richard Branson no longer owns. But you'll still see him being presented a lot of the time as the face of Virgin. Then you've got Apple. And most people, when they consider Apple, they think of Steve Jobs. Now, he is not the figurehead, the face, but his values and what he expressed. A lot of people admire Steve Jobs, and they consider Apple as a manifestation of Steve Jobs' personality. And that creates an interesting situation where if people see Apple moving away from the direction that Steve Jobs led the company in, they start to resist the brand. Think about eBay. Does anyone come to your mind when you think about eBay? No, nobody comes to your mind. So there's not a strong association with eBay and a personal brand, but they have a strong business brand. They have a strong corporate brand. Let's think about Google. Again, is there any one person you can associate? No, it's an entity. It's much harder to engage with these types of entity and feel a personal connection because you're not dealing with a person. Adidas, a sportswear company. Think about their brand. Now, what you'll see these companies sometimes do is they will borrow sportsmen to try and give them a more personal tone to the brand. They will take an influencer, get an influencer to sponsor their brand by paying them. And what that does, it creates a really interesting situation where you'll buy into the brand because it's associated with another personal brand. So that's a third option for a company, is to associate itself with someone else to create a personal brand or a sense of personal brand. This typically only lasts for a limited space of time during a marketing campaign, and it doesn't tend to be as powerful as having a personal brand. So when you think about creating your own brand in a business, think about whether you want to be upfront, whether you want it to be a personal brand, whether you have someone that's suitable in your business to do that is interesting enough. And if you don't, then go with business branding, but think about how you can communicate the values of the organization and make sure you communicate values that Bob is looking for in that organization to Bob. Because all Bob's looking for is to see whether you are a suitable fit for Bob. And if your values that you're communicating are values Bob rejects, or Bob is opposed to, or Bob is not interested in, then you can drive Bob away. So when we brand, think about what Bob is trying to buy, and then wrap that up in our brand and present that.